heart of the sprawling African jungle, where life and death intertwine with every breath, a terrifying scene unfolds. A colossal python, its destructive power coiled within every muscle fiber, tightens its embrace around the powerful form of Kalen, the lone silverback gorilla. Its fangs are bared, a chilling hiss tearing through the humid jungle heat. The forest floor trembles beneath Kalen's desperate struggle. Every sinewy muscle strains, his immense hands gripping the serpent's neck, his eyes blazing with defiance. This is no ordinary fight. It's a battle for survival, a fierce confrontation against a notorious predator known for its silent, crushing kills. In one explosive moment, Kalen unleashes a primal roar, echoing through the canopy, a defiant challenge to fate itself. His hands tighten further on the python's throat, while the snake's massive body wraps around him in multiple suffocating loops. And in that ultimate chaos, the unimaginable happens. Will help arrive in time? Can Kalen break free from the python's lethal embrace? Or will his legendary strength finally fail? Who will win this epic battle? But to truly comprehend how this incredible moment came to be, we must go back just a few hours earlier, to a scene of deceptive peace. Before the chaos, there was calm. Yet, in the jungle's embrace, peace is always a fragile thing. That day began in a sun-drenched clearing, a hidden paradise deep within the sprawling African rainforest. Golden shafts of light pierced the dense emerald canopy, painting shifting patterns on the forest floor and illuminating the humid air, thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming flowers. The world was alive with sound, the gentle hum of 1,000 insects, the distant echoing call of a turaco, and the soft rustle of leaves in the warm breeze. This was a sanctuary, a vibrant, breathing world that felt safe and eternal. In the center of this idyllic scene, a tiny young gorilla, overflowing with the boundless, clumsy energy of youth, was lost in his own world of play. He tumbled through a patch of soft green grass, his dark fur a stark contrast to the vivid foliage. He chased a brilliant blue butterfly, his small hands grasping at the air before getting distracted by a broad, tasty-looking leaf. He picked it up, examined it with the intense focus only a child can possess, and then clumsily tried to mimic the adults, beating his small chest with a soft thud that was more adorable than intimidating. He tripped over an exposed root, landing softly on the mossy ground, and immediately looked up, his wide, innocent eyes seeking out the familiar, reassuring presence of his guardian, perched on a massive fallen log that served as a natural throne. The silverback patriarch, Kalen, watched over him. He was a mountain of tranquil power, the undisputed leader whose presence alone guaranteed the troop's safety. His immense shoulders and powerful arms were relaxed, but his intelligent eyes were constantly moving, scanning the tree line, listening to the symphony of the jungle, and always returning to the small, playful figure of the young gorilla. The silver saddle of mature fur on his back, the mark of his authority, seemed to shimmer in the dappled sunlight. He was the very definition of gentle strength, a devoted father watching over his son Finn. But the jungle holds its secrets in the shadows. Beyond the clearing, in the dense, tangled undergrowth where the sunlight struggled to reach, something ancient and cold was stirring. An African rock python, a true master of camouflage, began to move. Its patterned scales, a complex mosaic of brown, olive, and cream, made it virtually invisible against the leaf litter. This creature was the embodiment of silent lethality. It is one of Africa's largest snakes, capable of reaching lengths of over 16 feet. It doesn't rely on venom. Its power lies in stealth and overwhelming, suffocating force. It moved with a hypnotic, deliberate grace, its forked tongue flickering in and out, tasting the air, gathering the chemical signals of the world around it. It detected warmth. It detected light, its unblinking predatory eyes, devoid of emotion, fixed on a target, the small, vulnerable young gorilla playing blissfully unaware and free from fear. The snake slid forward, a silent ribbon of death in a world of life. completely unaware that it had just entered the territory of one of the jungle's most formidable protectors. In a single silent movement, peace would shatter forever. When instinct detects danger, the reaction is instant, explosive, and absolute. Kalen's peaceful demeanor vanished in a heartbeat. It wasn't a sound or a sight at first, but a subtle change in the environment that his primal senses, honed by a lifetime of survival, recognized instantly. The chirping of the insects near the edge of the clearing suddenly stopped. A faint alien scent, the smell of a cold-blooded predator, reached him on the breeze. His head snapped up, his soft gaze hardening into a look of fierce intensity. His eyes locked onto the python, a deadly shadow flowing towards the young gorilla. There was no thought, only action. In a stunning explosion of motion, he launched himself from the rock. A quarter-ton of muscle and fur. He landed on the ground with a thud that shook the very earth, sending leaves and dirt flying. He crossed the clearing in 2 massive strides, a blur of focused fury. He didn't hesitate for a fraction of a second. Reaching the python just as it coiled to strike, he grabbed its thick, muscular tail. The feel of the powerful, scaly body in his hands was a declaration of war. With a guttural roar, he summoned his legendary strength, swinging the massive serpent through the air and flinging it with incredible force into the dense wall of jungle foliage. For a moment, it seemed over, but an African rock python is a creature of relentless aggression when challenged. It recovered almost instantly, its body untangling from the bushes, its anger palpable. As Kalen moved to place his own body as a shield between the snake and the now terrified young gorilla, the python launched. It didn't strike with its fangs. It struck with its entire body, a living battering ram. It slammed into Kalen's side, and before the great ape could react, the deadly embrace began. The first thick loop of the python's body snapped around Kalen's torso like a living steel band. Then came another and another, each one pulling tighter, leveraging the snake's incredible muscular power. Kalen unleashed a roar of fury and pain, a sound that ripped through the tranquil air. He reached down, his massive hands grabbing the snake's neck, tried to pull the suffocating coils away. His biceps, as thick as tree trunks, bulged with the strain, veins standing out on his powerful arms, but it was like pulling against a hydraulic press. For every inch of slack he gained, the python responded by constricting with even greater force, its entire body a single unified muscle of death. The air was being squeezed from his lungs. His powerful chest, the very instrument of his intimidating displays, was being systematically crushed. Desperate, he used his intelligence. Stumbling, he dragged the writhing serpent with him towards a massive ironwood tree. With a desperate cry, he slammed his own body, and the snake wrapped around it against the rough, unyielding bark. The impact was brutal, a sickening thud that echoed in the clearing. He did it again, hoping the force would break the snake's hold or its bones. But the python was a creature built for this kind of pressure. The impacts only seemed to anger it, and its grip became even more relentless, a vice that was slowly, inexorably extinguishing the life from him. His roars became more strained, his powerful struggles weaker. The world began to narrow to a terrifying tunnel of pain and pressure. Kalen's strength, legendary in the jungle, was beginning to fail. But his roars of pain and defiance were not just a cry of struggle. They were a call that traveled on the wind, a desperate message sent out into the heart of the forest. Just when all hope seemed lost, the forest answered. Miles away, deeper in the jungle, the rest of the gorilla troop was spread out, foraging peacefully. Mothers were grooming their young. Adolescents were engaged in mock battles, and other adults were methodically stripping leaves from branches. The world was calm. Then the sound reached them. It wasn't a silverback's usual contact call or a dominance display. This was a different sound, ragged and sharp, laced with a desperation that every member of the troop understood on a primal level. It was the sound of mortal danger. Instantly, the peaceful scene dissolved, heads snapped up. A young female named Ilara stopped chewing, her eyes wide with alarm. Two other large males, subordinates to Kalen named Marcus and Silas, rose to their full height, exchanging a look of grim understanding. There was no conference, no debate. The call of their leader, of their protector, was an unbreakable command. Mothers quickly gathered their infants, pulling them close. In a matter of seconds, the decision was made not by one, but by all. They were a family, and their leader was in trouble. Led by Marcus and Silas, a rescue party of 5 guerrillas began to move. This wasn't a quiet trek, it was a charge. They crashed through the undergrowth, their combined weight thumping against the ground in a rhythmic display of purpose and power. A clear message to whatever predator they were about to face. They followed the sound of the struggle, their pace quickening as Kalen's roars grew louder and more strained. They burst into the clearing to a sight of pure horror. Their leader, the powerful Kalen, who had always been their anchor of safety, was caught in the deadly embrace of the giant python. He was struggling weakly, his movements sluggish, his life clearly fading. The python, entirely focused on its prey, was completely unprepared for what was about to happen. The troop didn't hesitate. They swarmed in, launching a coordinated assault born of desperation and loyalty. This wasn't a clean one-on-one fight. It was chaotic, messy, and brilliantly effective. One of the large males, Silas, charged and bit down hard on the python's tail, digging in his feet and pulling backward with all his might. A female, smaller but incredibly fierce, named Layla, began clawing and biting at a different section of the coil, trying to find purchase. Another gorilla, Gus, grabbed a fallen branch and started beating it against the serpent's body, creating another point of pain and distraction. The python's head, which had been focused on Kalen, now had to swivel frantically, trying to identify and defend against multiple attackers. Its perfect, deadly concentration was shattered. It could not simultaneously crush its victim and defend itself from 5 other angry, determined gorillas. For the first time, the predator was the prey. Slowly, incredibly, the tide began to turn, leading to a resolution that speaks volumes about the bonds of family. The pressure was too much. The relentless, multi-pronged attack was something the python's predatory instincts had no answer for. It was a creature designed for solitary ambush and overwhelming force against a single opponent. Faced with a furious, united family, its will finally broke. Its survival instinct screamed louder than its desire to kill. With a final violent spasm, the massive coils unwound. The pressure on Kalen's chest released in a sudden rush. The python, now desperate only to escape, thrashed its way free from the tangle of angry apes and vanished into the dense undergrowth. A defeated shadow disappearing back into the jungle. A profound silence descended upon the clearing, broken only by the shuddering, ragged gasps of Kalen. He slumped to the forest floor, his body trembling with exhaustion. Deep, angry red welts and abrasions marked his dark fur, where the python's coils had squeezed the life from him. He was wounded, exhausted, but he was alive. The rest of the troop didn't celebrate with loud calls. Instead, they gathered around him in a circle of quiet, solemn support. Their actions spoke of a deep and complex social connection. 2 females, Ilara and Layla, began to groom him gently, their fingers carefully picking small leaves and bits of dirt from his fur, their touch a calming, reassuring ritual. The other males, Marcus and Silas, stood guard, their bodies forming a protective wall around their recovering leader. They were reaffirming their bonds, restoring order to their world. Then, from behind a bush where he had been hiding in terror, the young gorilla, Finn, emerged. He moved tentatively at first, his eyes fixed on the immense, breathing form of his father. He slowly approached, step by careful step, until he was right beside him. He reached out a small, hesitant hand and laid it on Kalen's massive forearm. The great ape, who had been lying with his eyes closed, slowly opened them. He turned his head and looked at his son. In that single gaze, the entire story was told. A story of terror, of sacrifice, and of a love so powerful it could challenge death itself. He let out a soft, low grunt, a sound of pure reassurance. He was okay. The family was safe. In the unforgiving wilderness, we often focus on the brutal fight for survival. But what we've witnessed here is something more profound. We saw a hero's courage. Yes, but that hero was saved by something even more powerful. The strength of his family. It wasn't just Kalen's muscles that won this fight. It was his roar that called for help, and the unbreakable bond that ensured the call was answered. This is a powerful reminder that in our world, just as in the jungle, our greatest strength is rarely found in isolation, but in the community that stands with us, the family that fights for us, and the bonds that refuse to be broken. If this incredible story of courage and family has touched your heart, please take a moment to reflect on the precious connections in your own life. Who are the people who have stood by you in your most challenging moments? Who are the ones you would fight for, without hesitation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We always cherish the stories and lessons you've learned. Thank you for listening, and always remember, true strength lies in love and unity.